I know you wouldn't normally put Homefront in the garden and symmetry in the same sentence, but we've come here to Leicester to transform this garden into something that the owners feel really suits their tastes. So I'm going to do something that I rarely do. I'm going to create a formal garden, but a formal garden with a difference. Well, it would be, wouldn't it?
The film you're about to see is based around some central themes: formality, the exotic, and contemplation. But be warned, it also contains some scenes of gratuitous violence and some inappropriate language. Will you ever f*** off? It also contains some tears, first of frustration and then of joy. Enjoy the film.
I suppose you could call me a suburban gardener. I grew up in suburbia and now I redesign suburban plots, like this one. It's a perfectly pretty garden on the outskirts of Leicester, which has clearly received a lot of care and attention. But like a lot of things we inherit, they don't always suit our needs or our tastes. The owners of this garden really want to stamp their personalities on it.
The garden that we have at the moment is definitely not hers. It doesn't actually inspire us or make us want to be out there. What we'd really like to do is actually extend our living space outside.
A lot of things have been picked up from where we've travelled as well.
Yeah.
So
Colours and textures influence us quite
a lot, yeah.
Quite a lot, yeah, in a great way.
But that's part of, in a way, our culture as well, isn't it? Yeah. Colours. Dhu Laurent garden in Morocco, I think was probably one of the exciting places we'd been to as well. Probably because how colour was used outdoors. Think about the gardens in India. They were more formal.
Because they were quite symmetrical, I mean, it was easier on the eye, and the sense of calm and peacefulness that they portrayed and instilled in you was just unbelievable. I mean, when you went to Taj Mahal, you're just so overwhelmed by the sheer size. We could use influences from the Taj Mahal in the garden, and I think what we would like to create is a space where you do forget, you know, what country you're in.
Nothing but not necessarily see a Taj Mahal in the back of the garden.
So the biggest question for me is how and what elements of the Taj Mahal could possibly be relevant to suburban Leicester. Not one to shirk research, I discovered that the Emperor Shah Jahan ordered it to be built in memory of his wife, who had died in childbirth. Work began in 1631, but took 22 years and a mere 20,000 workers to complete. We've got 12 days. In Persian gardens of paradise, pavilions were traditionally placed at the intersection of 4 straight walks or water channels, which divided the garden into equal rectangles. In contrast, the Taj Mahal is positioned at one end. It's revered as a symbol of eternal love, a solitary tear on the cheek of time. But I'm not at all interested in the romantic appeal. What does interest me is the perfect symmetry, the scale and proportion, and the emphasis on water. These are the elements which I think will work in Sejal and Kamal's garden, as they do in other gardens I visited.
Much closer to home at Mount Stewart in Northern Ireland, we have a different garden developed on exactly the same symmetrical theme. What we have is the house at the very top, then a sweeping set of steps leads to a large lawn, which runs all the way down this part of the garden, and all of a sudden more steps down to a final lawn and paved area, leading finally to a pavilion.
So all I've got to do now is incorporate these elements into Sejal and Kamal's garden. I think the layout lends itself perfectly to a symmetrical design, but Kamal's got a problem with the house being off-centre to the garden.
I have a solution to that, and what I think that we should do is build a pavilion, an open pavilion, you know, maybe something steel and red cedar, right the way across the back of the house here. We'll centre the whole garden, and then what you have is everything run in a central line off that, right down to your structure at the end.
The structure we're going to design will sit at the end of a central canal in the lower pond, which will be lined with marble. To transform this garden, we've rounded up the usual fistful of trusty workers, and the devastation can begin. But there's just one person missing, and every team needs a leader.
Morning. Morning, Sean.
I'm not sure how you're going to get this through the garage. Do you think it's possible?
Starting from the house, there's going to be a pavilion running right across the whole end of it, right over to the garden. And then this area that's only paving at the moment is going to be lawn. But we're pulling that right forward out to here, coming out about another 2 metres more. And then we drop down on a set of steps. We're excavating down there, putting the soil up to make this a perfectly level lawn. Then down the bottom, you step down again. And the machine is down there at the moment, excavating the base of what is going to be a pond lined with either marble or granite, we don't know yet. Then sitting right smack in the middle of that, we're going to have this temple-like gazebo. Probably looks better from here than it does down there.
Sean, of course, tends to make these projects look effortless, but over the next 12 days, this build will involve moving 50 tonnes of soil, laying 300 concrete blocks, 5 tonnes of marble, 6 tonnes of concrete.
Dermot, it's Sean. Do you want 8 to be on the safe side?
1,200 gallons of water, 700 foot of stainless steel wire, 2 tonnes of sand, and 100 goldfish. But back to the important design issues.
You know, the more I look at this plan, the more I realise how central to the whole scheme of things is this structure or building at the end of the garden.
I originally conceived it as some kind of temple. It's the focal point and therefore the key to the whole symmetry of the garden. But this is getting all far too literal. To bring a fresh perspective, I'm going to call in 2 other designers who I've worked with before.
It's an excuse, it's a cop-out, because I can't think of anything.
Jason and Dean Harvey designed street furniture, and I think they're the key to giving this garden the contemporary boost it needs.
It's all about symmetry, and hence we're here at Somerset House, which is very symmetrical. I couldn't get to the Taj Mahal on a Wednesday afternoon, just isn't time in the diary. Do you know one of those Moroccan lamps? Do you know one of those traditional Moroccan lamps?
There's sort of tin lamps that are punctured.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's not what we're about, just making representations of something.
Yeah.
Themes. This is getting very themey, it's getting very Taj Mahal, it's getting very Somerset House, all very symmetrical. I want to reinvent that.
I actually quite like the idea of the Moroccan lamp, not taking it literally and blowing it up, but just the sort of light aspects of light puncturing out and sort of diffusions of different light.
It's probably originally built as a place for shade rather than for protection from rain.
Yeah.
So maybe a place to soak up and enjoy the garden.
A couple of cushions on the floor.
Yep.
Focal point for the rest of the time.
Bedouin tent.
No. No, we don't do Bedouin tents. No, we don't do tents. No.
Back in Leicester, Sean and the team have concentrated on moving 50 tonnes of soil to create the 3 new levels, and they've excavated 3 4-foot deep trenches for the water feature, which will run exactly down the centre of the garden. We've commissioned a company who specialise in large water features. They've prefabricated these tanks which will form the ponds.
The challenge with this particular garden is on 3 different levels, and the water features, there's a water feature on each of the 3 levels. The challenge here was to make sure that a constant flow can be kept through the features and still maintain the levels in the features.
Well, it may sound simple, but Ian is underplaying the process by which they will ensure a steady and clean flow of water. A pump will regulate the volume of water circulating. For safety backup, a system of weirs will control the level in each tank, and a filter and UV system ensures the water is kept crystal clear.
I'm on the bank.
The next stage will be to run 150 foot of feed pipe between the tanks, which gives Eden, our boy wonder, the opportunity to create the perfect hole.
I'm very, very proud of this hole because I actually think it's one of my better ones. Put a lot of effort into it, a lot of strength, and as you can see, it's a perfect hole. Yeah, this hole's alright, but I think the last one was better.
This sleepy village in Wiltshire is the unlikely setting for Jason and Dean's studios, where work's beginning on the garden temple.
We've got green oak flooring, which is going to be sitting on Sean's stone stand in the middle of the water feature, and we've got a stainless steel frame with this stainless steel woven mesh. I quite like the idea of not having a roof, but yeah, I don't know how Dermot's going to go with it. We'll have to see.
Jason and Dean mainly design street furniture. Their work is very contemporary, but it's also simple, practical and elegant.
And what we like doing is like playing around with materials, just seeing what we can do, experimenting with what materials that are quite new to us. You feel like you're away from the garden, but you know.
So if it's lit at night with candles or whatever, then
that'd be great.
It changes the whole piece again.
Yeah,
becomes something completely different.
So what we have are two solid walls.
Yes.
A mesh back and
two mesh sides.
Two mesh sides. No roof.
No roof.
So it's kind of deconstructing the idea of a gazebo.
It is, which would be great.
I will go back to them and ask them about building a roof, but as a first view, I think it's very good.
It looks like a big chicken coop or something at the moment.
It's a box.
It's a box.
Well, they're looking for your thoughts, and they're your thoughts. So
my thoughts.
I think you better give them a ring with your thoughts.
Sejal can't get time off work, which leaves her feeling a bit anxious about progress on site.
In a way, I do feel left out because I'm not there all the while. I'm at work. Things are happening in the day, and I'm seeing them sort of quite late in the evening, by which time they're done, like the water tanks, you know. And Kamal and I both sat down yesterday with our head in our hands going, you know, they're massive, they're just too big. I think also what's difficult is to imagine what it's going to look like at the end of the 2 weeks. I mean, it might sound really, really harsh, but I do think corners are being cut.
It's not the sort of job where you get away with just putting things in and hoping for the best. This one has to be absolutely precise. There's no way out of it. The only way this is going to really work properly, because water is always going to be perfectly level, we've got to have the tanks absolutely precisely level, or we're in big trouble. So
there is faith that at the end of the day it will look good, but I think, as Kamal and I both put it, whether it's practical.
Oh, it has to be. The most important thing when you're designing a garden is function.
Aesthetically, it'd be brilliant, yeah. It'd be good for the two of us, but we do entertain a lot. And when you get a few people in, you know, well, will we be getting a few in the pool or in the water? We don't know.
Howard needs to clarify the exact ground level so he can install the weirs, and Sean needs to allow enough space for the bridges over the pond.
So we can have the water up as high as possible.
yeah, the only thing is that stainless steel two bridge areas that's going to cross are 6 inches deep.
And they're already ordered and everything.
Yeah, they're coming on Monday from the man.
I know, we'll
who's married to the woman that does my washing.
What?
Did you hear that? Here's the story. I've been looking for somebody to do my laundry, and there isn't anybody in the whole area.
You're big and ugly enough to do your own washing.
This fella arrived in the other day and goes, where's the Irish lad? And I said, I didn't know what to make of him. I said, who are you? Like that. I thought he was going to have a go at me about my car parked up over his house or something like that. And he said, you want your laundry done, do you? My wife does laundry. And then just off chance said, you don't happen to do steel girder things, do you? Oh yeah, I do. When do you want?
What do you mean, just on the off chance you asked him did he do steel?
I asked him what does he do, and he said, I'm a metal fabricator.
He wouldn't do glass walls, would he?
I would say he does.
In a land which time forgot, we have discovered stone. And the man with that stone is Jed Mason, who has the raw materials for our garden pond.
The quarry itself's been working since Roman times. The stone was actually laid down about 140 million years ago, so you could say it's the original Jurassic Park. The methods have been used by this company since the early 1800s. It's worked in the manner it's worked, plug and feather, as it's called, because it doesn't destroy the integrity of the rock. The reserves in the ground here for something like 6.5 million tonnes, at 2,000 tonnes a year. It's a long time. The stone that is used on your project is Ancaster Weatherbed. That's the stone on the top, the blue, the pink and the golden stone. It can be termed a marble because it polishes. Any limestone which takes a polish, it can be determined to be a marble.
Before it arrives in Leicester, our 5 tonnes of Jed's finest must be cut and polished at another quarry. And so its journey begins along the Roman road originally built from this very same stone. Back in Leicester, there's been a flurry of activity with the arrival of railway sleepers and galvanised RSJs to construct the pavilion.
Am I going to say to them, if you don't want sleepers, you don't have to have sleepers? You don't like the railway sleepers and you don't like the RSJs?
Yes.
Okay. People always get nervous with something new.
That's not unusual to me.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very elegant.
I think
something stronger would be nicer.
Convinced on the cedar wood, I think, and
Yeah.
we got that image in our head,
Yes.
and then suddenly sort of finding out sleepers.
It's not really true to say that I haven't been telling you everything, because if you look at the plan, it would be exactly the same plan. Exactly the same.
Yes, but we didn't have materials in the plan to be or design.
No,
Yes.
because it's kind of almost such a process so fast.
Yes.
We're not aware now of
Yes.
what's happening, and I think that's what's making us nervous.
Yeah, but you'll have never seen sleepers used the way we're using these.
What are you doing to it?
Where they will slot, they will form a perfectly level floor.
Right.
And slotting under lips of steel on both sides.
Right.
So they just look perfect. They just look like a wooden floor without seeing any of the rustic look.
Sure.
I quite like it in a way. It's incorporating like almost something so new, like metal.
No. Forget all of that, Kamal. Think you've got sleepers.
Yeah, no, but I'm ignoring that.
Let's leave this debate at simmering point and catch up with Jason and Dean. Jason is using green oak for the floor of the temple, and Dean is welding together a steel frame. Sean, meanwhile, needs to get work going on the pond.
It's 4 o'clock, and Tony came up from London this morning to put in the stone that was supposed to arrive, but it didn't arrive, so we decided to call the stonemasons and find out what had happened. And apparently, because it rained yesterday, they didn't do anything, even though we worked in the rain to get ready for it. So they let us down big time on that one.
Time really does seem to stand still in this 170-year-old quarry. Not only is the stone Jurassic, some of the technology is over 120 years old. This quarry provided the stone for the Houses of Parliament, and now things are grinding into action for our pond. The first pieces of stone are being prepared. It's first cut by a 2-metre diamond blade. It then goes through a secondary saw to cut it down to size. It's lovingly planed on this ancient piece of machinery, and finally polished by hand.
So Eden has now gone an hour up the motorway in a van to try and get some stone so we can get a little bit of it done. It's bad enough that the stone was late. It's 5:30 now and it's only after arriving, and only because one of our lads went and picked it up. I've just seen the plan that they've sent with it. This is their interpretation of my plan, which I've no idea what or why they've changed everything around on it. But basically it means that if we build it to their plan, Dean and Jason's gazebo will be too big for it. A bit of a mess.
Confusion. Chaos. Panic.
He hasn't really polished. There's still saw marks in it.
bit cabbaged at the moment on what's going what, and we're changing things around.
But surely Jed has an explanation for this apparent confusion.
3580s, right? Yes. I'll have to cut something. I don't know which ones to cut yet. I might need some more 150 by 200, like short bits, you know. Have you got off cuts of that? I'll call you back in about 10 minutes, right? Okay. You know, he's obviously added it up himself, and he's decided to go off and have a go at somebody else.
Tony has just enough stone to start building the intersection, but he desperately needs the rest to arrive. Well, at least something's arrived. These steel sheets are normally used to reinforce concrete.
Sean, where are these going?
These are going up on the roof of the pavilion.
A coat of silver hammerite will give them a galvanised look.
Yeah, but the thing is, if there were 5 people on it at once, we'll do one of these in half an hour. Whereas one person takes 2 hours.
Eden, I reckon it took so long because you never stopped talking.
The mixer's running, but there's still no stone.
So the lorry's late to be at least an hour.
When it does finally arrive, there's no way of unloading it.
There's about 5.5 tons in it, I would say. It's been so much easier to lift it off with that arm instead of having to lift it off by hand. Good.
Hold. You got it, yeah. Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
Heavy?
I don't know how you're going to put them in place.
I think I'll need some steroids.
The solution is to painstakingly manhandle each piece of stone down towards the pond.
Speechless.
But before work can resume, Sean has to rework the plan again.
Cross the top of the D's. What?
He also needs to skillfully cut down some oversized pieces. But we've got to hand it to Jed. They've travelled 100 miles to polish the unfinished stone by hand. To echo the steel girders of the pavilion, I've designed similar structures on either side of the lawn. They underline the symmetry we've created, but I hope they'll also inject a really contemporary feel, especially when we fix tension wires across to link them together.
Turf's up!
Sean, is this the loan that's going in there?
This is it. It's all yours. Here you go. Put it over there, please.
The only reason I know it's a Thursday today is because yesterday myself and Eden weren't quite sure where we were.
Thursday? Wednesday, Thursday.
No, I knew what day it was yesterday, but I'm completely lost now.
What day is this? It is. I have no idea.
Thursday.
Friday.
Thursday? The 14th, is it?
What day is today?
Oh, it's Friday. Yeah, it's Friday, isn't it?
It's Friday.
You sure?
Quite sure.
Putting strands of stainless steel wire across the garden. Dermot wants them to be like, I suppose, like an alternative to a trellis or something like that. In the scale of Homefront achievements, this ranks as...
This is the ninth wonder, isn't it?
This is the one, yeah. We've had one that we call the 8th wonder of the world. I reckon this is up there. It's the 9th, alright.
And there's nothing more appropriate for a night wonder than Jason and Dean's temple.
It's brilliant because there's nothing like a temple.
God, how the hell did you get all this done in time scale? That's amazing.
Great fun.
God, this is a lot more contemporary than I imagined. So we can bring it in and plonk it on top, then.
Plonk it on top.
What time is it?
10:15.
It's 10:15.
Good morning, this is BBC Radio Leicester. It's 6 o'clock.
traffic conditions so far. I've always said that from the beginning, that I can't envisage the garden, and I still can't.
In a way, I don't want to know, because I think I just want to be surprised.
Yes, I mean, if it almost sort of transports us back, you know, if the garden does do that for us, if that's achieved, then, oh, it'd be brilliant. When everybody'd gone on Saturday, it was lovely, it was clean, absolutely perfect. But then you've come in and you've done the planting, and that's just created so many corners, so many characters. I mean, each little bit's got its own character.
I know earlier on when you said formal, I had anticipated seeing like blocks of squares almost, and the planting has softened that out.
I didn't want the garden to be too austere, so if we have planting flowing all the way through these structures and around this type of planting, I just thought it would be a more gentle place to be.
I absolutely love the conifers. I mean, they are just so beautiful.
Yeah, I love the conifers too. They kind of enhance the symmetry and give a sense of theatre to the whole. They make it into its own room.
I mean, I think the gazebo or the temple at the back is just absolutely brilliant. It just balances everything together, and it gives you that sense of focus.
From the Moroccan lamp, we just took light, basically, and sort of refracted light, how light plays on different surfaces.
It really does draw you into the garden. And the way it sits within this pond and rises out of the water is absolutely perfect.
It's fantastic. It's beautiful, apt. They love it, I love it. It has echoes of fabric because it's very fluid, It reminds me of kind of the veil of a wedding dress. It really is bringing that sort of feeling into the garden.
Magical is how it feels right now. It's almost as if space has been created just for us, and it's so personal. I mean, the atmosphere and the feeling's just beautiful.
For more information on any of the gardens in this series, you can check our website at www.bbc.co.uk/gardening.